Genocide, extermination. Make no mistake about it. We're witnessing a genocide of the Palestinian people in real time. As a content creator who has never shied away from making content and speaking out on issues related to social injustices in this country and around the world, I feel that this topic is too important for us as Americans to just turn a blind eye because it makes us feel uncomfortable. Because as Dr. King once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We're caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Especially as a Jewish American, I must not remain silent on what is happening. Silence is complicity. The irony, of course, in all of this is that Jewish people have been persecuted ourselves for thousands of years. We even faced genocide ourselves not too long ago. So it makes me really sick to my stomach to see some of my fellow Jewish Americans see absolutely no problem with the way Israel has treated the Palestinian people since day one of its inception. Saying, oh, it's a complicated issue is a cop-out. It's not that complicated. Israel fits all the characteristics of an apartheid state. Palestinians are third-class citizens that have been subjugated and brutalized by Israel since the Nakba, which was the destruction of Palestinian society back in 1948 by Israelis, which was essentially their version of the Trail of Tears. I'm very experienced, educated, and knowledgeable about this topic. I'm not one of these creators who just learned about it this week and is now giving their 2 cents. I was raised Jewish, and I grew up, like most Jewish Americans since birth, being indoctrinated to believe that all of Israel belongs to us and that Palestinians are evil Arabs and that anything Israel does in defense of their sovereignty is justified, which we all know is propaganda. Because the more I learned history and witnessed the truth of what was going on, I realized we were being lied to. So I feel I can help spread awareness and educate people who may not be familiar with what is and has been going on in Israel since its creation 75 years ago. Let me start out by saying, yes, of course, we all condemn Hamas's attacks on Israel this week. No one wants violence to ever be the answer. But for Israel to then respond with dropping thousands of bombs on civilians in residential buildings, hospitals, schools, and people attempting to flee, which is called collective punishment, is an act of war. It's a war crime. 50% of Gaza citizens are under the age of 18, 40% under 15. They're bombing women and children, but you don't consider that to be terrorism? Why exactly? Israel's cut off the power, water, and is not allowing for supplies to enter Gaza to help the citizens. That is a war crime. Israel's defense should not come at the suffering of innocent civilians. The Prime Minister Netanyahu and Minister of Defense have described Palestinians as animals and rejoice at destroying Gaza and making its citizens suffer for the actions of Hamas. Which brings me to something I want you to think about. Israel has the most advanced army in the world, some of the best intelligence agencies in the world. You really think they didn't know about this impending attack? There are now reports coming out that Netanyahu and his government knew of the attacks coming, that they knew Hamas was training for 2 years for this, but they let it happen. And then you telling me it took them 6 hours to respond? You know why? Because it would give Israeli government the moral justification they feel they needed to finally finish off the Palestinians. Another very important point for you to know is that just like how America helped create the Taliban to fight the Russians during the Cold War, Israel helped create Hamas in the 80s as a response to the stabilizing the Palestinian Liberation Operation, which was a far less religious and radicalized organization that was in charge before Hamas. I have more I can say, but I'm going to start to wrap it up. In summary, I will always speak out and stand up to the face of injustice. We cannot turn a blind eye to what the Israeli government is doing to Palestinians right now. We cannot sit idly by and let this happen. I hope this video will encourage more people to let their voices be heard and speak out on this genocide which is happening before our very eyes. Thank you for listening, and free Palestine.